It's a fair question. How much does a country's ancient past really matter today? I mean, especially for a place like Japan, right? You think of hypermodern cities, cutting edge tech. It's so easy to just assume their story started in the modern era. But what if the cultural software running Japan right now, what if that code was actually written over 1,000 years ago? Well, let's dive in and see if we can crack it. So, back in 1921, one of Japan's most famous historians, a guy named Naito Konan, made this really bold statement. He basically argued that if you want to get a handle on modern Japan, you only need to start studying from the mid 15th century, right after this one massive civil war. Everything before that, he pretty much called it irrelevant, ancient history with almost no connection to the present.
But is that really true? I mean, can a whole society just hit a reset button like that? Was this Onin War such a clean break that it just sliced away all the connections to the deep past? Well, in this explainer, we're going to put that exact idea to the test.
Okay, so let's start right where Naito told us to, with the Onin War. This is the conflict that supposedly drew a big fat line between ancient and modern Japan. And this was no ordinary war. Just look at this illustration from the time. We're talking about a brutal decade-long struggle that absolutely leveled the capital city of Kyoto. The old feudal order shattered. Temples, aristocratic mansions, all burned to the ground. It really felt like, in every single way, an ending. Or was it? Because here's where it gets really interesting. This total, utter destruction had a completely unexpected side effect. In all that chaos and fire, something was actually set free. See, as the elites were fleeing the burning capital, their most prized possessions, we're talking ancient texts, poetry collections, historical diaries, they all got scattered across the country. And these treasures, which were once locked away in private libraries, suddenly fell into the hands of ordinary people. So, weirdly enough, the war became this massive cultural distribution event, spreading knowledge and high culture to every corner of Japan. Which, of course, brings up a really fascinating question. If the war basically copied and pasted this ancient culture everywhere, what exactly was in that cultural source code? What were the core ideas and philosophies that managed to survive the flames and get passed on? So let's dig into that code. What was in it? Because as we're about to see, this stuff isn't just trapped in history books. It is still running in Japan today. Take a look at this beautiful thing. It's the pagoda at Horyuji Temple. Now, it's made of wood, it's over 1,000 years old, and it's sitting in one of the most earthquake-prone places on the entire planet. And yet, it has survived countless quakes for 1,300 years. How is that even possible? Well, the secret is a concept called asobi, which kind of translates to play. The joints in the building aren't locked down tight. Each piece is designed to have a little bit of give, a little play in it. This lets the whole structure sway, almost like a snake during an earthquake, absorbing all that energy and then just settling right back into place. And this just brilliantly shows two totally different ways of thinking about engineering. The traditional Western approach is what you'd call a rigid structure. You meet force with more force. But the ancient Japanese approach is a flexible structure. You yield, you absorb, you disperse the force. You don't fight the earthquake, you dance with it. And here it is, the direct line to today. Modern architects, when they're designing these massive skyscrapers to survive earthquakes, are now using this exact same 1,300-year-old principle of flexible design. That ancient code is literally shaping the skylines of today. It's incredible. But this ancient code, it goes way beyond just physical buildings. There's another, even deeper idea at work here. One that's less about the thing itself and more about the philosophy behind it. It's about preserving the how, not just the what. This right here is the Ise Grand Shrine. It's the most sacred site in Shinto, Japan's indigenous religion. But here's the wild part. The building you're looking at isn't actually ancient. In fact, it gets completely rebuilt from scratch every 20 years. And that's a tradition that's been going on for over 1,000 years. So why? Why do that? Because the whole philosophy of Ise isn't about preserving the physical hardware of the building. It's about preserving the software, the carpentry techniques, the purification rituals, the spirit of creation itself. By passing down the process, they make sure that knowledge is never, ever lost. You can even see the DNA of modern ideas like Kaizen, or continuous improvement, right here in this ancient practice. And you can spot this pattern all through Japanese history.
Take this beautiful Nara Sansai bowl from way back in the 8th century. It's a Japanese interpretation of pottery from China's Tang Dynasty. Now, the goal wasn't just to import a Chinese bowl. No, it was to master the Chinese technique, to internalize it, and then recreate it with a uniquely Japanese spirit. Again, all the focus is on the software. So this deep-seated cultural instinct, this obsession with the method, the process, the spirit of the craft, this is another core piece of that ancient code. And it was around for centuries before the Onin War even started. Okay, so let's circle all the way back to our original question. Was Naito Konan right? Was the Onin War a total and complete break with the past? Here's his verdict again, a clear line drawn in the sand. But now, after seeing how ideas like flexible design in the Isolossaki have survived, this statement starts to feel a little shaky, doesn't it? But here's the best part. The biggest twist comes from the exact same historical text where Naito made his famous declaration in the first place. Decades after Naito wrote that, the editors of the collection his work appeared in, they added this incredible note. They actually questioned whether his bold statement still held up. They suggested that, you know what, to understand their present day, maybe you do need to look at what came before the war. They challenged the idea themselves. So here's our new verdict. The Onin War wasn't a reset button. Not at all. It was a violent, chaotic, but ultimately super effective distribution system. It took the cultural code written in Japan's deep past and just spread it everywhere, embedding it so deeply into the society that it's still running today. So what's the big takeaway here? Well, first, a society's core cultural code can be incredibly tough, surviving even the worst disasters. Second, ideas that are shaping modern Japan today, from its skyscrapers to its business philosophies, have roots that go back way, way deeper than the 15th century. And finally, if you really want to understand the present, you have to be willing to look past the obvious breaking points and go digging for the source code that's been running in the background all along. And that kind of leaves you with one last thought, doesn't it? What are the foundational ideas, the ancient bits of code that are quietly shaping your own world, your own culture right now, without you even realizing it?